Practice run. How are you?
Okay, we're with Mr. John Burke, who was a keynote speaker today at the first ever Western Wisconsin Bicycle Institute here in La Crosse at the Radisson Center. Thank you, Mr. Burke, for being here.
Thanks for having me, Richard.
I am just pleased as all the people were here that you were able to present us with a great speech today, and we wanted to thank you for your presence today. Got some questions for you in regards to the bicycling community in Wisconsin here and throughout the United States, since you are an industry leader. What is the position currently also of Trek as far as bicycling companies in the United States, as far as sales, distribution, things like that? What is your sales position vis-a-vis other bicycle companies?
Oh, I think it's the largest bike brand in the United States.
Okay.
So we don't concentrate on being the largest, we just concentrate on being the best.
Very well.
All right? Well, one bike at a time.
I could tell you about my previous Trek bicycles that lasted 12 or 14 years, and including one that I donated was still working, but I'm sure you've heard that before.
Were you a satisfied customer?
Oh, more than satisfied. I currently have a Trek, and I'm looking forward to upgrading.
Excellent.
So
very good.
Looking back, Mr. Burke, where did your involvement in civic and community biking issues begin, and how did you develop or evolve over time your involvement with civic and community bicycle issues? Can you point to a year when you started really becoming more active as a public figure involved in bicycling issues?
You know, I think it really goes back to my parents, who were very involved in community issues and doing a lot of good in the community, and so we've always looked at Trek as a family business and using the business to do good things in the community. I got a phone call in 1997 from Congressman Oberstar, Minnesota, and he was really the father of the modern day bicycle movement in America. And the congressman said to me, he goes, "The industry hasn't done anything. I need the industry to show up. I need help from the industry." He says, "Could you come down here to Washington?" So I went down to Washington, we had a good conversation, and so it really kind of clicked in my mind that, you know, one of the ways for Trek to grow in the future was to make sure there were places to ride. And so Trek was selling a bunch of bikes in Europe, so I'd been to Europe and I'd seen, geez, this is what happens, right? So then I start to get involved, I start going to the bike summit, and then I start spending a lot of time with bicycle advocates, who are really the backbone of the movement in America. And so you start talking about issues like safe routes to schools, and you start talking about the fact that in 1950, 50% of kids rode their bikes so they walked to school, and today it's 3%. Then you start saying, okay, there's a solution to that. It's called safe routes to schools. How can we get more people involved in that? And then you start hearing about, you know what, did you know that 40% of car trips are 2 miles or less? And you hear that and you just go, you know what? And so let's change that. So I think it was the combination of, I run a bike company and I'm civic minded, so kind of let's put those two together and let's see what Trek can do. And you know, Trek has done a lot just kind of doing what's right, and we do what's right, and then we just kind of go along our way.
Great. What, in your opinion, and what do you think is the single most important issue with regard to the overall biking experience in Wisconsin as you analyze it now in 2010?
To me, it's all about facilities. If you build it, they will come. I live 3 miles outside of Madison, 3 miles from the Capitol. And there's a 1.5 mile stretch down Gorham Street that if I take well, she's 15 now, but I'd always ride downtown with my daughter, and she's 12. And you know, it's like playing Russian roulette. And that's the issue. The issue is, do we have the facilities? If you take a look at the success in Copenhagen, You take a look at the success in Boulder or in Portland or in New York City now, it's all about facilities. If you have the right facilities, people are going to ride their bikes.
And could you elaborate on facilities? And I want to throw in a little personal experience. When I was up in Alaska, I had a bike breakdown just because I had too much weight on a touring bike, and I was fortunate to find someone to repair my bike. When you say sane facilities, what are you referring to?
I'm really referring to places where people can ride their bikes safely. Is there a bicycle path or not? Because if you're expecting the bicycle to compete with the car on the same road, there's 2% of Americans who are going to do that. Mr. and Mrs. Smith are not going to get on a busy road going through the middle of a major city with cars 6 inches away from them.
What do you picture Trek's role, the Trek Corporation, as a public entity as far as bicycling matters in, say, 5 years down the road and 10 years down the road? Do you think that with your leadership and directing your company's energies, where do you think it's going to go and evolve from today into the future? How do you see Trek's involvement in these kind of issues as germinating?
Well, you know, I think one of the things is the bicycle movement's much larger than Trek, and one of the things, Trek's been a leader. Trek's been there at the start, and one of the goals of Trek's involvement is to get other people involved. So here tonight I'm in La Crosse, and there was like 200 people here, right? It was phenomenal turnout, so we got more people involved tonight. Tonight's a win. But because of Trek's involvement in the industry, other companies take a look at Trek and they go, you know what, those guys are doing the right thing, we're going to get involved. And from Trek's standpoint, it's a big tent. The more people who are involved, the better. And we see more and more fish jumping into the boat.
An inclusion principle?
Absolutely. The more the merrier.
Great. A couple more questions and we'll wrap this up. And here again, we very much appreciate your involvement and your presence today. I don't know if you can really quantify something like that, but I think that obviously the feeling was there, and I'm sure hoping you enjoyed it today. Your experience.
It was a great experience in La Crosse. You know, I gave them that message of show up. You know, the world is run by people who show up, and you could tell the people in the audience tonight that's a group who could get stuff done. And you know, I think things will go great here.
Oh, great.